Hello everyone. Today's poem is Zhou Nan, Han Guang by Yi Ming or by Anonymous. Zhou Nan, the Zhou Wind. Actually, it's a little different from other states' wind because Nan means south. So normally the state wind, it was written or produced within a very little geographic area, the land surrounding the state capital. But there's two states wind different, Zhou Nan and Zhao Nan. The title is different because the direct translation is Zhou South and Zhao South. All the other 13 states winds is with the name of that country and then followed with wind, like Wei Feng, the Wei wind, Wei states wind, or Qi Feng, the Qi states wind. And Zhou Nan and Zhao Nan is quite different. The main reason is Zhou Nan and Zhao Nan, the two states, is the capital area in Chinese, Wangji. So this place is the place or hometown of the Zhou people, and this is the capital area. And from this, the title of Zhou Nan, and especially this poem we have today, Han Guang. We know the poems in Zhou Nan, the Zhou Wind and the Zhao Wind, was not limited in a very small geographic area. It extends hundreds miles or maybe thousands miles to the south. So this most probably is the reason why they have the name Zhou Nan, the Zhou South. I had thought of the name for that. The title for this poem, Han Guang, the Han River wide. So it tells very straightforward. The Han River is very wide. And it could also refer to the river floating through a vast area. So basically the Han River is south to the Zhou state or the Zhou city, and it's a vast area. And in the Zhou time, actually there's two rivers named as Han River. One is the West Han River, the other is the East Han River. The West Han River actually has gone, or is changed to another name. The river path may be also changed a little bit, but basically we don't call it West Han River today. It's Jialing River. And from this poem, the Yangtze River also referred. So through the two rivers, we can conclude that this poem is describing something in this big triangle between the West Han River, or Jialing today, and the East Han River, the Han River, so-called Han River today as well, still. And to the south bound is the Yangtze River. So this three rivers make a big triangle, and we can conclude this poem is about something happened in this big geographic area. This big triangle area is with huge significance in the ancient China, but not known by today's Chinese. The first emperor of the Han dynasty, he he started from this area, the conquering of the whole China. So this is the base of the Han dynasty, and that's also the Han dynasty was named after. And in the Zhou dynasty, when the Zhou people is trying to defeat the previous Shang dynasty, a very important parties or armies is from this area, and they are the most vital strengths to help the Zhou people to defeat the Shang dynasty, the king of Shang. All the above I just mentioned happened in the midstream of Han River, and this area is also could be the most critical area for Zhou people as well, because there was so many wars happened in this area south to the Yangtze River. And once the biggest war in the history record so far we know is happened in this area. The Zhou king summoned a troop with 3,000 war chariot, and he tried to conquer the Southland along the Yangtze River. Anyhow, he was defeated and he lost his life when he retreated from the battlefield, and all the troops was lost. That could be one of the major turning point for the West Zhou dynasty as well. But we can never see that in the Book of Songs, because people never talk about the bad things or the unlucky things, the sad things in a poetry. So just give you a little bit idea how was a troop of 3,000 war chariots. In the later, after several hundred years later, in the warrior states time, so there's so many battles, the big states, the dominant states, they have the most powerful troops. But so far, the biggest troops in the history record was with 800 war chariots. So you can see how strong or how many troops, armies the Zhou people had, and how they focused and they valued this area much. They put their almost all the troops and the biggest troops ever in the history to this area with 3,000 war chariots. With all the history background, we can have an alternative interpretation for this poem rather than the general explanation or interpretations. Normally, this poem was treated as a love poem, unsuccessful love story, and the poet, who was writing this poem, he missed that girl so much, and he feels such a sorrow. Now let's look at this poem. The wording of this poem is quite simple as other poems in the Book of Songs, but it has some very unique characteristics. First thing first, it uses a lot of negative sentences. That's quite unique in the Book of Songs, because in the Book of Songs time, everything is so primitive. So they just write something direct and as simple as possible, as accurate as possible. But this poem, all the sentences is you cannot, is negative sentence, could be the only poems in the Book of Songs. The second thing, through the whole poetry, it created a figure with mysterious characteristics. The girl is so mysterious, and which actually arouse the interest of the readers, of the anyone who see these poems or know this story. So from these characters, it's quite like the poem 蒹葭, but we know 蒹葭 is sometimes quite later than this poem. It's Qin State's Wind. The whole poem was in 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph, 南有乔木，不可休思. So in the south, there's big wood. 乔木 is big wood. 不可休思, you cannot rest there. 思 is a borrowed word as 思, it means this one. You cannot rest under these big trees. You can see the characters 休, which means rest. So when the Chinese created this character, it's used the figure or used the painting. On the left is a person. On the right is a big wood. So the person lean on the big wood. That means have a rest. So the first sentence, actually, we can derive from that character, 休. But you cannot, but in this poem is quite strange or weird. You cannot rest under that big wood. 汉有游女，不可求思. So along the Han River, there is girls, but you cannot pursue these girls. You cannot make relationship with these girls. 游女 has so many arguments and explanations, but basically we can interpret in 2 ways. First thing first, the Zhou dynasty was the first dynasty that make rules toward family, toward wedding, marriage. So before the Zhou dynasty and even in the Zhou dynasty is quite primitive. The society is quite primitive. The relationship between men and women is quite primitive. They don't have long-term relationship, but make love randomly, just in case they have the needs, they feel good toward each other. And most probably they make love along the riverside, along the lakeside. That was also reflected in the very ancient stories about the primitive societies, in the myths, the Chinese myths, that the women always get pregnancy along the riverside. So we can feel that when the people are really standing along the riverside, and you mentioned the riverside in the poetry, it has a very strong connection with love, making love, or love affair. So the first interpretation of 游女 is the Zhou people has entered to the boundary frontier area of Zhou states. So in these areas, it's still quite primitive. The girls at this place, they don't have too much social rules to regulate their behavior, especially their behavior between adult men, between adult women. So for people of Zhou, these girls are quite attractive and easy as well. The second interpretation could be the structure of the Zhou state. So basically the people in the Zhou state was divided into two types of people. The 国人, the people of states, is sort of the citizen, they have the citizenship. And the people of 蜀人. So the 蜀人is basically quite like slaves. And when the Zhou people or the citizens, they going into the wild field, wild place. So that's the place of the 蜀人, the place of the slaveries. So those girls are quite easy, or they don't have too much of the social rules with them. So it's still quite easy and attractive for the Zhou people, for the Zhou male person. So as far as we have such understanding that the 游女, the girls, are easy and attractive, and let's review this two pair of sentences again and try to figure out what happened. So the first pair of sentences, 南有乔木不可休思, it's the very typical writing technique. 兴, write something of the scenic views, and then the second pair of sentences, we write the things we try to talk about. 南有乔木不可休思. So in the south, in the Han River area, there's big trees, but you cannot rest under that big trees. And along the Han River side, there's attractive, easy girls, 游女, attractive, easy girls, but you cannot pursue or you cannot have relation with them. So this poem, starting from the first sentence, it's trying to deliver a message. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. Be careful. Right? It's quite straightforward. 汉之广矣，不可泳思；江之永矣，不可方思。The Han River was so wide, you cannot swim across this river. 泳 basically means walking under the river, with a very little meaning of swimming as today. So normally for a small river, even it's a little deeper than a person, but you can still walk through that river. So the first pair sentence, 汉之广矣，不可泳思. You cannot walk through this river. 江之永矣，不可方思. Jiang, the Yangtze River. So from this term, we know this poem is referring to this big triangle area, the two Han River enclosed with the Yangtze River, a big triangle area. 江之永矣. The Yangtze River is long and endless. 不可方思. Fang, we have this term in Jianjia as well. Fang means two boats paralleled together. So it's a much bigger and stable boat. So this pair of sentences means the Yangtze River is long and endless, but you cannot use this big boat to cross, to go through the Yangtze River. It's so long and endless. So this poem is really strange, right? 4 pair of sentences in the first paragraph, and every pair of sentences said, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. What happened? Let's see the rest of the paragraph. 悄悄错心，言意齐楚。悄悄 means very long. It originally refers to the tail of a bird, long tail of a bird. So here it refers something very long. 错 means all kinds of, messed up. 心 refers to the bush, the grass with small woods. 悄悄错心 means the bush is very prosperous, full of all kinds of grasses and woods, and growing very long. 言意齐楚，意 means cut off. 言 means it explained or it means. 齐楚，楚 is refers to one type of grass, and normally it was used as fuel. So here, let's review this sentence again. So the bush is prosperous, it has all kinds of grasses, but now I'm here to cutting some of the bushes or woods. We should cut the wood of chu because I need fuel for my home, for my kitchen, to heat my house animal. So I need fuel. So you just take the wood of chu, that type of wood. 之子于归，言莫骑马。之子于归 are very familiar words in the Book of Songs. So the girl married to a noble person. It's just like going home. It means 言莫骑马. It means it's telling the story of 莫骑马. 莫 means to feed his horse. The horse is a very, very important animal in the ancient time. It basically means the military power, and it could be the most important things for a man, for a military person. Basically, all the state person, 国人, they are soldiers if the war came up. So everyone is a soldier, and not ordinary, they are just like officers or just a normal farmers to fulfill their normal duty. But when the war comes, the king summons the troops, everyone is the soldiers, and the horse is the most critical things for that soldier. So the soldier, which actually is very, very the most important thing to a family, because once the war broke, the husband, the sons had to go to the battlefield with that horse. So if the horse cannot do its duty, it's not fast enough horse, the husband, the son could lost their life in the battlefield. So whenever we thought about saw the horse or chariot in a Book of Songs, we know it always refers to the war, or sometimes it refers to the level of the person in that society, because how many horse, how the chariot, how many chariots, it all equals to the different level of their social levels. but mostly it's always about war. So now let's review these two pair of sentences again. So there's a lot of bushes, all kinds of grass and woods, but when you go to that place to cut some woods, you should go for the wood of 竹 because it's useful or it's meaningless. Otherwise, the other type of grass is useless if you take them home. And a girl married to a man, it means she can feed your horse. The horse is almost equivalent to life and death to her husband. So that's the most important things. So here it point out the key point or the most important things for two things, two matters. First thing first, when you want to cut some woods for your home usage, you go to the right wood. And if you want to have a wife, a decent wife, or the girl, the meaning of a wife for a family is she can feed the horse, and she can feed the horse very well, which means the husband could have a better chance to survive from the battlefield. So that's it is. Okay, then the poem repeat the sentence in the first paragraph. 汉之广矣，不可泳思，江之永矣，不可方思. The Han River is so wide you cannot walk through. The Yangtze River is long and endless. You cannot take a big boat. You cannot even take a boat to get along with the Yangtze River. So you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Okay, let's go to the third paragraph. It's quite similar to the second paragraph. 悄悄错心，言意其漏。So the bushes is very prosperous with all kinds of grass and woods. But when you're cutting the woods, 言意, when you're cutting the woods, you should go for the grass of 楼. 楼 is a kind of reeds-like things. It's a very delicious grass. It's eatable for the Zhou people, and it's also used for the ceremony for the ancestors. So for the Zhou people, or for the king of Zhou, the most two important things. First thing first is war. The second thing is for the ceremony for the ancestors. So this reed or this grass of Lo is eatable, and also is the most important sacrifice for that ceremony to the ancestors. So it's very important things. So the pair of sentence means if you go to cut some grass or woods, go for the grass of 楼好. That's the thing you should go for. Never cut some other grass or woods which is useless. 之子于归，言莫其居. So here it's almost repeating the second paragraph, but changed just one word. 居 means the little horse. So the girl married to the noble person, 之子于归, is just like going home. The significance of that marriage is the wife would feed the small horses, the junior horses, which means the wife also will responsible for the descendants of that horse, because the junior horse is critical for the sons of this family, because the sons was doomed to go to the battlefield someday. So to breed the little horse to a good, capable, strong horse is also very critical. When the son grown up, when the junior horses became an adult horse, they would also go to the battlefield. So the very strong and good horse will guarantee their son can come back from the battlefield, and the son would make the family last to the later generations. So the family can last by generations and generations. So let's review these two pair of sentences again. The bush is off with all kinds of grasses, with all kinds of woods, but cutting woods is we just go for the grass of low, and we don't care other grasses, because the low grass is the only useful grass for us. 之子于归，言莫其居. So the girl or the woman married to a man, to a noble person, is just like going home. And the marriage, the significance of the marriage means that girl or that the wife could feed the junior horse as well, and which would make the family last, make the horses last forever, generations and by generations. Okay, let's continue. 汉之广矣，不可泳思；江之永矣，不可方思. Okay, that's all repeating of the first and second paragraph. The Han River is so wide you cannot walk through. The Yangtze River is such long and endless you can never take the big boat to cross over or to go through. Okay, we finished all the wordings of this poem. So before or generally, this term refers to a man was falling in love with a girl in this area, in this triangle, a boundary place, a frontier place. The man most probably is the Zhou people or the soldier of Zhou, because that's the only reason they came to this area. But he, no matter for what reason, they don't have the relationship, or the girl never married to this man. And the man used this poem to express his sorrows and his missing for that girl. And he also expressed so many mysterious and wonderful feelings. The girl is just like the Han River. The girl is just like the Yangtze River. It has so many things unknown that will arouse a normal person, an average person, more interest on that girl. So that's the normal interpretation of this poem. Well, from the most recent history and archaeology studies, we know the Zhou people or the Zhou troops has a very, very strong presence in these areas. So definitely the soldiers may have many affairs in this area with the local women. They are still in a very primitive stage. They don't follow any rules of the modern rules or the Zhou rules of the family. And also, if we follow the wording of this poem very strictly, apparently it's sort of the ban. It's an order from the very high above, from the generals, a ban. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot go that local girls. And also, in this poem, it gave the reasons, because the marriage for your soldiers, it just is the women should manage the whole family well, and she can feed your horse. So if you don't know the housekeeping works, how important or how complex in your home, but you know the importance of a horse, how important a horse to a Zhou soldier. Without your horse, or your horse is not capable, you will lose your life in the battlefield. A good wife will ensure you have a very strong and good horse, and who will guarantee you can go back home safely. But these local girls in the Han River, along the Han River, they never care about those housekeepings or family things. They can love you today, this hour, and then they will forget you the next day. So that's the very primitive society looks like. And so in this way, I think it's much more solid than the love poetry interpretations. And these poems very apparently is from the very high generals. He gave the order. You cannot rest in this very dangerous southern place along the Han River. Even there's big ooze. It's not your home. It's dangerous place. And you cannot go for that local girls. You should never go for that local girls. It's a dangerous place, and they are not qualified for to be a wife of you. Because, and then the poem in the third paragraph try to make the reasoning why those local girls along the Han River could not be a qualified wife. They cannot feed your horse. They won't feed the junior horse as well. So it's just like the Han River is so wide. You cannot walk through the Han River just like you walk through in your hometown. And the Yangtze River is even bigger. You even cannot take a big boat to cross the Yangtze River like you cross a big river in your hometown. So never go for those local girls along the Han River. So it's an order of ban. Well, at the very beginning, this poem could be the order from the high general, a ban from the general. But through the long history, the most interesting part of this poem is the girl, the very mysterious and very attractive girls. Even in the poem, never described or depict that girl directly, but you can feel how attractive that girl was. And in a later poem in the Book of Songs, 蒹葭, it used a very similar writing techniques. It described a very mysterious and a very attractive person, but through an indirect way. Curiosity kills the cat. So that's how this poem and 蒹葭 became so hot and popular through the generations in the Chinese history. 好奇害死猫 Curiosity kills the cat. Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.